question is, I'm going to write a little P for paintings and S for statue. Okay. Question is, how does the value of the 7 in the number of paintings compare to the value of the 7 in the number of statues? It's asking you to look at this number very closely. They want you to compare it to this one. But this is the one we really want to know about. This is the one we really want to know about. Okay? So let's look at where the 7 is. What place value is the 7 up here? Well, if you don't know, let's start at the back of the number. Ones, tens, hundreds. And I like to make a lot of notes in the hundreds place. Okay, you can't see that, so let me do that again. I'll write it under here. In the hundreds place. Well, what place value is the 7 over here? In the tens place. So we really want to know about this guy. If there was a 7 in the hundreds place, okay, got a quick little place value chart. Notice that I wrote so on 10. That's called just abbreviating, okay? It still means thousand, hundred. Okay. I have a 7 that I have now landed in the hundreds place. This is what I really want to look at. This was the number it's asking me about. I'm comparing it to another number, but this is the number it wants you to talk about. How much is that worth? 700. It's worth 700. But it was in the tens place. Did it jump to the left? Did it jump to the right? We took the 7 and it went to the left. Or you can look at the values. How much greater is 700 than 70? Times 10. So your answer for that question over here should have been A. It is 10 times greater. If you got that correct, please give yourself a pat on the back. All right. There are 4 answers to these type of questions. It is either going to be times 10, times 100. Let's make my commas too big. Or, and use a different color here, it's going to be times 1/10, or it's going to be times 1/100. Okay. If you're telling me that a number is times 10 greater, then your number, the value is larger. When you're describing the number that it first asks you about, you're saying that it is larger than the number you're comparing it to. The value is larger than the number you are comparing it to. So just like up here in this question, the first number it asked you to look at was at 3,741. That indeed had a greater value. That 7 had a greater value than it did when the 579. Now, mind you, we're only looking at the 7. So don't think we're looking at the whole number. Just look at the 7. the value of the number you're looking at. How much greater? That's where you get into your jumps. How much? One jump times 10. Two jumps is times 100. Let's go over here. If you answer that your number is times 1/10 greater, you are telling me that the value is less. Well, I'll say smaller, I guess, to match what I wrote over there. Is smaller than the number you are comparing to. And I'll be honest, boys and girls, I write more for speed than for beauty. Believe me, I can write neat. But in 5th grade, we always have so much stuff we have to cover, so I try to write a little quickly. And for you guys at home, you can always pause the video if you need more time. How much less? I'm sure I'm still on the screen though. How much? One jump times 1/10. Two jumps is times 1/100. All right. One more note to make on this. If the value is getting larger, it is moving which way, boys and girls? On the place value chart, it is moving to the left. If the value is getting less than, it is getting smaller, your number is moving to the right. To the right, to the right. So I need to write moving to the right. These notes are going to be very important. Please save them. All right. Now this is about the lesson today. We are going to look at your independent practice. See where I can do at least one. Let's see. Clean that board up here. All right. All right. Here we go. Readjust my camera. Well, let's look at number 3. It looks like we can see number 3 pretty well. So I'm not quite that tall to reach number 1. How many times greater? There's your clue. There's your clue. It's a greater than question. So your only choices are going to be times 10, times 100, times 1/10, or times 1/100. If a question asks you how many times greater a value is, it is going to be one of these 4 answers. See? I'm giving you a little cheat sheet on that. Okay? The value of the digit 4 in the number, 245,958. That's a big number. Okay? That's the one that's most important. It's asking you about this number, and it's asking you to compare that number to the value of the 4 in 762,401. Is it asking you to compare these two numbers? No. It's asking you about a specific number in a specific place type. What is that number? If you said 4, that is correct. It's asking you about the 4. Hey, how much is the value of the 4 in this number? Let's review. You should have answered 40,000. That is how much you have. You have 40,000. But how much greater is 40,000 compared to this one? How much is this 4 worth? 400. Is 40,000 10 times greater? Well, how many jumps did it make? Oh, you can't see my number. The 4 went from the hundreds place to the what place? It was in the hundreds place, and it went to the 10,000. So you went 1,000, 10,000. That's 2 jumps. Did you see that? He started here in the hundreds, where he was in the hundreds. He went 1 jump, 2 jumps. He is 100 times greater. 100 times, because that 4 went from the hundreds place to the 10,000s place. He jumped over the thousands and he landed in the 10,000. You can also just look at the values. Some of you, if you know your rules with zero, your middle math, 400 times what gets you 40,000? Well, how many more zeros are on this? 2, if you can look at it that way. Okay, now let's look at one. Let's see. I don't want to do all of them for you. Let's see. Interesting. All right, let me see here. You've been listening to me talk for quite a while, huh? All right, we'll move on. Go ahead and finish your independent practice, do your workstations, your fluency, your iReady, your activity. And this is your exit ticket. I'm going to be looking at this when you complete your lesson. This one's a little tricky. You have to pick the statement that is true. So where before I told you we were solving the answer, it's giving you the answer. It's saying 1/10 greater, 10 times greater, 1/100th greater, or 100 times greater. It's giving you already filled in. Okay? It's kind of like a true or false thing. You need to find the one that's true. Remember, this is the number you're really looking at. This is the number you're really looking at. This is the number of what you have. This is what you have. This over here is what you're comparing it to. If you compare this number, that value, the number 6 and this place value, you're comparing it to this. How much greater is that? Compared to this, how much greater is that? Compared to this, how much greater is that? Compared to this, how much greater is that? Okay? Go ahead and finish that. Put your circle around how you feel about today's lesson. Well, you're going to do that in a minute. And then you have some homework. Do the best on your homework. And we'll probably go over the homework tomorrow morning. All right, guys. Get your work done, and I'll look forward to looking at it. Okay, come over here. Thanks, guys. I hope you took all your notes. Let everything sink in. Maybe practice making some numbers. Quizzing yourself. What is 10 times greater? That kind of thing. And I'll talk to you all tomorrow.